Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to 9 Nar Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book. Commercial Real Estate for Beginners by Peter Harris is an accessible starting point for readers who want to understand how commercial property investing works in the real world. Instead of assuming prior experience, the book focuses on core concepts that separate commercial deals from residential investing, including how properties generate income, how value is calculated, and why commercial assets can scale more efficiently. It frames commercial real estate as a business built on leases, cash flow, and operations, helping beginners see how investors evaluate risk and return. Harris also highlights common deal types and the typical roles involved, such as brokers, lenders, property managers, and partners, so readers can visualize the full ecosystem. The emphasis is on building a practical foundation, understanding terminology, spotting viable opportunities, and avoiding early mistakes that can cost time and money. For anyone curious about stepping beyond single-family rentals, this book aims to make the entry point clearer and more realistic. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, understanding commercial real estate and how it differs from residential. A key foundation in the book is clarifying what commercial real estate includes and why it behaves differently than residential property. Beginners often assume that commercial is simply a larger version of residential, but commercial assets are typically valued and financed based on their income-producing ability. The book explains how common property categories like multifamily apartments, retail, office, industrial, and mixed use each have different demand drivers, tenant behavior, and operational complexity. It also introduces the idea that commercial real estate is closer to running a business than owning a home, because performance depends on leases, expenses, and management decisions. This perspective helps readers understand why investors focus on metrics like net operating income, occupancy, and lease terms rather than just comparable sales. The topic also covers the practical implications of longer lease durations, different tenant improvement expectations, and how commercial transactions involve more specialized professionals. By learning these distinctions early, a new investor can choose a niche that matches their risk tolerance and capabilities, and can avoid making residential-style assumptions that do not hold up in commercial underwriting and negotiations. Secondly, cash flow, NOI, and valuation basics. That drive commercial deals, the book emphasizes that commercial value is strongly connected to a property's ability to produce income, making basic financial literacy essential. It breaks down how gross income becomes net operating income after operating expenses, and why NOI is the central figure used in analysis. Readers are introduced to the logic of capitalization rates and how cap rates translate income into an implied value, while also reflecting perceived risk, location, and asset quality. This topic helps beginners understand that increasing NOI through improved occupancy, rent adjustments, or expense controls can directly increase a property's value, sometimes more predictably than waiting for market appreciation. The discussion also highlights the importance of knowing which expenses are typical for a given asset type and which costs can surprise new owners, such as maintenance reserves, property taxes, insurance, utilities, and management fees. By connecting operations to valuation, the book guides readers toward thinking like an operator, focusing on sustainable income rather than speculative assumptions. This framework supports better deal screening, more realistic projections, and a stronger ability to communicate with brokers, lenders, and potential partners using standard commercial language. Thirdly, finding deals and evaluating opportunities with a beginner-friendly process. Another major theme is establishing a repeatable process for sourcing and evaluating commercial opportunities. The book outlines practical ways beginners can start looking for deals, including working with brokers, exploring listings, networking locally, and learning to identify properties that may be mismanaged or under-optimized. It stresses that deal flow is not only about volume, but also about clarity, knowing your target asset type, your market criteria, and your minimum financial requirements. The topic also addresses how to review a property at a high level before spending significant time and money, using initial numbers to determine whether the opportunity is worth deeper diligence. Beginners benefit from learning to ask for the right information early, such as rent rolls, trailing income and expense statements, occupancy history, and major capital needs. This reduces the risk of falling in love with a property based on incomplete data. The process mindset also teaches patience and discipline, encouraging readers to compare multiple opportunities and avoid stretching assumptions just to make a deal work. Over time, this approach builds confidence, improves decision quality, and creates a pipeline that can support consistent investing rather than one-off experimentation. Fourthly, financing, leverage, and structuring a deal without overextending. Financing is presented as a defining skill for commercial investors, and the book introduces core concepts that help beginners understand how deals are commonly funded. It explains the role of leverage and why debt can amplify returns while also increasing risk when occupancy or income declines. Readers learn to think about down payments, loan terms, interest rates, amortization, and how lenders evaluate properties based on income coverage and borrower strength. The topic also discusses the importance of aligning the financing strategy with the asset's business plan, such as stabilizing a property before refinancing or considering how short-term versus long-term debt affects risk. In addition to traditional bank and commercial loans, the book highlights the broader idea of capital structure, including the possibility of partnering to reach larger deals. A beginner-oriented framing helps readers appreciate that the best financing is not always the maximum loan size, but the structure that preserves flexibility, supports operations, and protects downside. Understanding the lender's perspective also strengthens negotiation, since borrowers who can present clean financials, realistic projections, and a clear plan are more likely to earn favorable terms and close smoothly. Lastly, due diligence, risk management, and operating like an owner. The book underlines that commercial success is built during due diligence and operations, not only at the purchase. This topic focuses on the practical areas where beginners can reduce risk by verifying assumptions before closing and building systems after acquisition. Key diligence concepts include validating income through leases and tenant payment history, reviewing expenses for accuracy and sustainability, checking deferred maintenance, and understanding major capital items that could affect cash flow. It also highlights the importance of market realities, such as tenant demand, competing supply, and local economic drivers, which influence occupancy and rent growth. Beyond purchase verification, the book frames management as the engine that protects and grows NOI. Even investors who hire a property manager must know what to monitor: vacancy trends, renewal timing, maintenance response, and budget adherence. Risk management is treated as both financial and operational, encouraging readers to build reserves, plan for turnover, and avoid overly optimistic rent projections. By adopting an owner-operator mindset, beginners can make better decisions about improvements, pricing, and tenant quality, creating a more stable investment and a clearer path to long-term growth. In conclusion, this book is best suited for beginners who are curious about commercial real estate but feel overwhelmed by terminology, deal structure, and the perceived jump from residential investing. It can also benefit motivated readers who already own a rental or two and want a clearer map of how income-based valuation, leasing, and operations change the game in commercial properties. The biggest life benefit is that it gives readers a practical framework for thinking like an investor and operator, not a speculator. By learning how cash flow is created, how value is tied to NOI, and how to approach financing and due diligence, a reader can make calmer, more disciplined decisions and avoid costly beginner mistakes. Compared with many commercial real estate books that lean heavily on advanced math, niche strategies, or inspirational storytelling, this one focuses on foundational understanding and actionable process. That makes it worth buying if you want an entry-level guide that connects the moving parts of commercial deals into a coherent picture. It helps you assess opportunities more confidently, communicate with professionals more effectively, and build a path toward larger, scalable assets. If you would like to support Peter Harris, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.